This guide will show the assembly of the DFPlayer Mini Board, which is part of my family of PC boards for builders and hobbyists. This PC board was sponsored by PCBWay. This will be a quick assembly as there are not that many parts, but before we get started, let's review some of the supplies you may need. Since this assembly has some surface mount parts, you'll want a fine soldering iron tip and small diameter solder. Some flux and solder braid can come in handy too. Besides these items, a small pair of wire cutters will be needed. Having a larger soldering iron tip and solder will make soldering the DFPlayer module easier. As an option to hand soldering, you can also use a hot plate to solder multiple surface mount parts or even multiple boards at the same time. So let's get started with the top of the board. I will be starting with the voltage regulator, U4, and surrounding parts. I'll mount all the parts the same way by adding a small amount of solder to one of the pads and using that to tack the part in place. I'll then solder all the pads to complete the mounting of that part. Portions of this video may speed up. Make sure you also solder the regulator tab as it provides the ground connection. I'll continue with the capacitors C2, 3, and 4. Now I'll move on to capacitor C1 and follow that with resistor R1. Now placing E1, which is the final surface mount. I'll mount U1 next. This board does give you the option of a surface mount or through-hole part for U1 too. Make sure you have the proper orientation of the part. This device has a small dot noting where pin 1 is located. It should align with the pin 1 marking on the PCB. For through-hole parts, I usually solder one pin and then check that the part is flush before soldering the remaining pins. I'm going to install the DFPlayer module, U3, next. It should align with the pin 1 markings on the PCB with the SD card opening toward the volume switches. Provide a small gap between the DFPlayer chips and the top of the ATtiny. This board provides the option of adding two 6mm switches for volume control. You can cut this board off if you don't need it, or if you want to relocate the switches. The I/O connections for the volume control are also available from breakout pads. This assembly is complete. You should now review and touch up any connections and clean up any residual flux. There are pad locations for the ICSP programming port, DAC, speaker, I/O, and add key. You have the option of using either the DFPlayer Busy Pin or TX line. If you use the Busy Pin, you will need to unsolder the pad when programming. Optionally, you can place a resistor of about 1.5 to 2K across this pad. The final step is programming the controller. The ATtiny85 uses an ICSP port. You can either use a soft touch cable or add a programming header to connect to your programmer. I hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you to those that have subscribed. Please take a look at my other projects, and if you are not yet a subscriber, please consider hitting that subscribe button below. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.